All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another Fear the Walking Dead video for today after last night's new episode for Fear the Walking Dead Season 4, which was episode 13. In this one, we're going to give our thoughts on whether or not we think Fear the Walking Dead as a series is too far gone. So I thought this would be a good one to go ahead and start things off this week with the Q&As leading up to our last 3 episodes for Fear the Walking Dead Season 4, because I felt like episode 13 of Fear was a good episode. I mean, at least the ending in the last 5 to 10 minutes of the episode I thought was really great. And, as we're starting to see the group kind of come back together again. And Fear the Walking Dead is a series that it's always, all the way through the entire show, except for Season 3, maybe the first half of Season 4, it's always felt like a series that, it has so much potential, right? Even from the beginning of the show, it had so much potential to be something really cool. And unfortunately, if you look at the first 3 years and the characters that we've had in Fear from the first 3 years, it's pretty much, if you look at this episode, it's almost totally unrecognizable from the first couple seasons to where we're seeing the group at now, to what we're seeing happening in Fear, and who kind of the lead focus is for Fear, which characters kind of at the forefront. It's really crazy to see a series change so drastically and so much as things have gone through. And I did a video yesterday before episode 13, which I did think was a great turnaround episode. I thought that was an episode where, it was certainly a lot of fun near the end there. It was well mixed all the way through. You got to see all the different kind of characters and what was happening with each of them. And it was a bit unpredictable, and I thought by the end of the episode, okay, this is really cool. This is something really cool that Fear has done that we haven't really seen so much this half, aside from maybe some of the hurricane stuff, which was okay. It wasn't fantastic, but there was some fun stuff in last night's episode, especially at the end there with this new female clear villain, right? Morgan Stalker. So that's fine. With Fear, it's is it over? Is it over? That's the question. Okay, so we know it's been renewed for Season 5, so we're at least going to get to see a Season 5 of Fear. But the big question is anyone, going to still be wanting to see it? That's the big question. Are people still going to want to see more Fear? And will Season 5 be the last season, or will it also get a Season 6? My impressions for the Walking Dead franchise from AMC, not just for Fear, but for the Walking Dead as a whole, is that they're prepared to go ahead with just about as many seasons as they can do of The Walking Dead. And certainly when The Walking Dead was at its peak, seasons like 5, 6, and 7, at least the start of 7, they were basically saying that they could see The Walking Dead going into the teens of seasons. So season 15, 20, whatever, that kind of thing. But that's when everything is going great. When everything is going great and it's on the up and up and up, that's bull talk. People say that during, bull runs and bull markets when everything is going awesome and the sky seems to be the limit and that kind of thing. And that's kind of what you expect to see. So for Fear is in the video we did yesterday about the ratings only being 1.5 million, if it declines any more than that and you start getting less than 1 million per episode or something like this, I would really start to look at Fear as in cancellation territory, to where it's so low and there's so few people interested in it that they may have to decide, okay, we're going to have to wrap this up, because it gets into a kind of a downward spiral where it's not getting enough viewership to, have revenue come in from the commercials and everything else, how they make money, right? So then you budget less for it because it's not bringing in enough revenue. So you put less money into it, and then because you put less money into it, the show gets even worse because you can't do that much with it, right? Because you don't have the revenue, you don't have the budget or the cash to do a lot of great stuff and have big zombie herds and stuff like this. All this stuff costs a lot of money. Even in this episode 13, you have the huge truck, you have the SWAT vehicle and all this stuff. Everything they do, all the people involved, you got to pay your cast, you got to pay your crew. So it all costs quite a bit of money, and if it's not like so if it goes down further and further, and then they put less and less in, it gets into a spiral where less and less people are going to watch because the show is getting less and less of a budget, and they're not able to do much, and the quality maybe degrades because they can't afford to do a whole lot with it because they don't have that much of a budget, so less people watch, and then you get into this kind of spiral, and then soon, it's going to be canceled. So whether or not Fear the Walking Dead will get a season 6 will have to remains to be seen. We'll have to see. I kind of hope that it will, but I suppose they could always kind of bring Morgan and whoever's alive at the end of season 5 if if this is what they want to do, and then have them go into the original Walking Dead series, recombine the shows, and then do the original Walking Dead run, and have that group, whoever's alive at the end of Fear, assimilate into the Walking Dead crew, and then continue on with Walking Dead past that. So it's really ultimately it's up to the viewers, right? If people are still interested in Fear, if they feel like Fear still has potential, they still want to see it, they want to see Morgan, they want to see the new characters, they want to see Alicia, Strand, and Lucy, the kind of OG survivors for Fear, and they want it to continue through, then it will continue to do well. But as we've seen in a trend lately in this kind of back half of the season, it really does feel like after that mid-season finale and after Madison was killed off, if you look at trending downward after that, I mean, it went down pretty quick to the point where it's like, whoa, we're just not sure if it's going to even continue here. So I tend to think right now, I don't think Fear is done. I don't think it's to the point now where it's like, okay, it's definitely going to get canceled or whatever, or fans are just totally done with it. I feel like the fan base right now for Fear is really mixed. There are some people, like myself, that still want to watch it, still want to give it a chance, still want to see if it can continue for at least another year or two. But then there's about the other half that they're just done with it. They're like, yes, Fear's screwed. Too far gone, forget it. It's done, it's dead, leave it alone, and move on with whatever else, right? So what it is. So my answer from my perspective is I'm personally not done with it yet. Yes, I've been upset. Yes, I was pretty upset at the mid-season finale at the Madison death and everything. But at the same time, I was still like, okay, well, let's see what they got. Let's see what they can do. And I don't think it's totally done 100% yet. I still think it could, it could recover. We can come back from this, right? I know it can. Well, we'll see. It's close. It's like a 50-50, I think, at this point, whether or not it's going to be able to continue like this. But I'm going to continue right on with the videos forward, at least for this next year. And if it wraps up after that, then it wraps up after that. Or if it gets to the point where nobody wants to see videos on it at all, then I'll pretty much kind of be forced to stop, and I'll just watch it myself. Or at least do like one video a week on it, like one review, and then no predictions, no Q&As, nothing else in addition to that, just the bare, just the review, just the bare minimum, and that's it, because there just isn't enough fan interest there. So I hope that doesn't happen with Fear, but based on the current trend, who knows? So I don't think it's totally dead yet. First question for this week comes from ClayDog Madman, who says, does anyone miss Madison yet? Just wondering. So I do. I'm looking at these episodes thinking, like, if they still had Kim Dickens cast, I think it would elevate this back half a little bit, because I think she did have quite a bit of charisma, and she was a unique character in the zombie apocalypse. So maybe you have her with Alicia, or her looking for Alicia or something. And I know that's kind of been done already, but it would be cool just to bolster that roster. I mean, Fear doesn't have that much of a roster in terms of the survivors. Would it hurt to have her still alive there and had killed off Lucy or somebody else like that in the mid-season finale instead? Or, done like a fake death and had her come back? We know, and for the people who think, maybe she'll return eventually, no, she won't, because the actress has been cast in another series already. Kim Dickens is going to be moving on from Fear, and no, that's not what it looks like they're doing here at all. Yeah, so, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that miss seeing Madison in the series, and that's no doubt, I think, has a lot to do with how they're feeling about it in this back half, because it's like, you had these big deaths in the first half, but now what does that leave us with the rest of the series, and is it easy to just, kill off these major characters and then bring in other characters and get the audience to care? That's not an easy, not an easy thing to do, for sure. John Keller says, the end of the episode really cleared things up, didn't it? So yeah, that's good. Yes, it did. Epic Zombie Killer said, hey Trev, Q&A. Do you think Fear the Walking Dead Season 4 has been a disappointment? I feel it is, especially compared to how Season 3 was. This whole season has been, slow filler, nothing going on and killing off characters that shouldn't have died, aka Madison right now. The SWAT truck is the only thing keeping me watching. Sorry, but I want to hear your thoughts, Trev. P.S. Keep up the awesome work. So for Epic Zombie Killer, disappointment. This back half is a bit disappointing. The first half I was not disappointed with. I was upset at some of the deaths, which is like, those were disappointing. Like some of the deaths were disappointing. But when you look at the first half as a whole compared to the second half, it was definitely, I found it to be compelling. I was glued for every episode. I was enjoying some of those episodes in the first half of season 4 almost as much as the original Walking Dead. Some of those episodes, maybe I could say I enjoyed more, or I was more like interested in what was happening than the second half of the Walking Dead season 8. And that's true. But, again, with those major character deaths, it's like, what does that leave us with now? And I feel like this back half has just been kind of going through its paces. It hasn't really done anything that's as captivating as the first half. That's what I'll say. So Vaajid Rehmani says, I believe Gimple is on vacation because last night's episode was good, right? I like that. He's like the villain of The Walking Dead, right? He's like the behind-the-scenes villain. I can't believe that's one thing that I think is funny about this year, the last couple of years, is like people just, I'm sure he's not, I don't know him personally, but I'm sure he's not that bad of a guy, but people just... He's like the evil mastermind villain behind the death of The Walking Dead. That's the way a lot of people see Gimple right now. So it's funny, man. It's just, I don't know what to say aside from that. It's just funny. Chill McCool says, Yo, Trev Q&A, did you notice how Strand was stranded? Haha. So, yeah, I mentioned that in the review, right? Strand gets stranded in this episode. I thought it was kind of clever, actually. I just thought of it. I was like, that's kind of clever, right? It really is. They don't come right out and say it, but, it's kind of funny. John Lee says, Q&A, Trev, will you ever talk about the Walking Dead Tale game? So no, because I don't have enough hours in the week to play video games pretty much at all. Like I don't personally play video games because, and I enjoy them. That's the thing, right? I'd like to do it, but the thing is that because of everything else I have going on, I don't have time. And even playing the game through once would take me a whole week, and that means that the whole week I wouldn't be making videos with you guys, and that's not really, the channel's more important, so I can't really do that. Easton Zero Links says, Trev, thought it was a good episode, and I'm still enjoying Fear the Walking Dead, but when do you think Daniel will return? Because it's getting close to the end of the season, so do you think he'll come back this season or next? Can you give your thoughts? And loving the videos recently. So for him, they kind of made it sound like he might return by the end of the season, like maybe in the finale or something like that. I personally thought that it'd be probably, next season if they do it, or maybe they just shouldn't do it at all. Now, part of the reason why I think they kind of shouldn't even do it at all, him and Strand don't like each other. Luciana and him, I don't even think, did they even meet each other? I'm trying to think, right? And then you've got Alicia and Daniel, and they didn't really have a close relationship either. So you can bring Daniel back if you want to, but there's in terms of the character, interpersonal relationships there's nobody there who Daniel would really, that would be important for Daniel to see. Maybe him and Strand would be the most interesting because they kind of hate each other and they have a good banter back and forth, so that could be fun to see. But aside from that, it's like, what's the point at this point? It's kind of like they've redefined fear. So, to bring Daniel back after you've redefined the series, that really feels like just mixed up, because it's like you're going this new direction, then you're bringing in someone back from the old direction, but you were going that way, and then you killed off the lead there, so you went here. So you can't have both, right? You're either going to stick to that original and then go that way with Madison still being alive and maybe adding Morgan and doing that stuff. But if you go this way, the way they did go, I just feel like, adding Daniel back, like unless they think of a very clever way to do it, which, maybe they will next year, but it's just like, you've already gone the other way too far to bring him back at this point, I think, even though they probably will anyway, who knows, but maybe next year, we'll see, or maybe it'll be in the finale, who knows. Brian Atcham says, no one's gone until they're gone except for the viewers. So that's true. The show's still on and the viewers are gone, but not all of them. There's still 1.5 million US, and then there's international, so it's probably still, and then they get Talking Dead after, so you get that add-on, so it's probably still worth it to do, but it's starting to get close. Some of those episodes are expensive to do, which, based on the episodes we've seen lately, they're probably not expensive to do, but some of the ones in the first half with using the whole stadium and stuff like that could be a bit pricey, right, to do that kind of stuff. They're going to find ways in the future to kind of keep costs down and still bring some good stuff, right? It's going to be tricky. June says, Trev, do you think bringing back Madison would fix it? So like I said earlier, it can't happen. There's really no point in us even discussing it. It just can't happen. That's really all there is to it. So would it fix everything? It wouldn't, because they said on Talking Dead that she's deadity dead. So if you're going to confirm it that way, it just would be like a lie, and then you're lying to your audience, and that's a big mess up too. So no, I don't think you can. You can't do it now, And if they do it, it doesn't work at all, and it's just like, what the f? That just doesn't work. Melinda Davis says, I think the ratings are low due to them killing off both Nick and Madison. I think they're just making too drastic changes too suddenly, so too fast. That was a crazy half in terms of character deaths. That was the biggest. If you think about Fear of the Walking Dead, or you think about the franchises for the Walking Dead, based on percentage and how important those characters were to Fear, that first half of season 4 featured the biggest deaths of either Walking Dead series has ever done, based on the amount of lead characters in the show. So the Walking Dead's had some big halves, like killing off Lori, for example, was big, or Shane, or Glenn and Abraham. But the Walking Dead's always had like over a dozen survivors. Fear literally only had like a small handful, like half a dozen, and then you killed off those 2 out of that small amount, leaving us with only 3. That is the slimmest pickings we have ever seen for a season of any Walking Dead series. Compared to The Walking Dead, there's just it's a totally different ballgame. And then Don Lavendula said, Trev, please review the Joe Rogan show with Elon Musk. So there's something totally different. Well, I mean, I tend to not review, like episodes of podcasts or things like that. But I could do a video, give my thoughts on simulation theory, maybe. It's interesting that, the universe is simulation. So I'll think about it, but not fear related. Anyway, I threw it in there anyway. Last one will be from Marilyn S., who says, oh my God, absolutely love the episode, but I did like this whole season. Loved that whole scene with Morgan knocking the knife out of Sarah's hand with the shovel. A little comedy is fine. A little bit's not bad, a little bit. It doesn't have to become Z Nation, but a little bit is okay. And that'll be it for today's video, guys. If you liked it, please don't forget to thumb it up below. You can also share and favorite. Check out the other videos here if you guys didn't see my review for episode 13, predictions for 14, all kinds of good stuff. Keep sending me your guys' questions, and maybe we'll do one more this week for Fear, leading up to episode 14, the third last episode of this season for Fear. So for this one, I'll see you guys again soon for another video. As always, it's Trev. I'm saying peace. Later, guys. I'll see you soon.